Hello and welcome. I wanted to share a video with you this time about the difference between a chain foundation and a chainless foundation. Now this is not intended to be a tutorial of any sort. What I'm going to be doing here is making one of each, a chain and a chainless foundation, then making a swatch to compare the two. I want to show you the difference in the size, the appearance, and the stretchability of each different kind of foundation. I'm also going to compare the amount of time it takes me to make each one. So let's get going. For my first swatch, I'm using the chain foundation. With this method, you chain the desired number you want to start with, add a couple, and then start stitching back across in order to make your first row. I'm going to start with 25 stitches across, and to complete the swatch, I'm going to crochet another 7 rows, giving me 8 total. Here you can see I'm finishing up the first row with my chain foundation. This is a quick and easy technique, and if you're anything like me, this is one of the very first techniques you ever learned when you started to crochet. It's one of the most common ways to begin a project. Next, I made another swatch, the same size and shape, which was 25 stitches across and 8 rows high, using the chainless foundation method. Now with this method, you essentially create the bottom chain and the first row of stitches all at the same time. This is a method I just learned how to do in the last year or two, so I'm by no means an expert at it, but I have found it useful in a lot of circumstances already. And I do enjoy learning new techniques. So I'm finishing up the first row of the chainless foundation, and I'll go ahead and show you a comparison between the two starting rows before I go on to do the comparison of the two swatches for you. So here are both of my finished first rows. The chainless foundation is on the left and the chain foundation is on the right. I did each of these 3 times, and I used a stopwatch to time myself for each attempt. My average time doing the complete first row for the chain foundation was 2 minutes and 37 seconds. My average time to make the complete first row of the chainless foundation was 3 minutes and 10 seconds. The time difference may be because I'm more familiar with the chain foundation than I am with the chainless, or it may be because the chainless foundation is a bit more of an involved process. But as with most things, we get quicker with practice. So now we'll move on to a comparison of my finished test pieces. On each one of them, I've gone on to crochet 8 rows total. So we have a couple of good-sized rectangles to look at, and they did come out to be about the same size. Your starting edge with the chain foundation has this nice neat edge on it if you crochet in the back loop. The chainless foundation also has an attractive edge on it. They do differ from each other slightly in appearance because the chainless foundation has sort of a braided look along the edge that the chain foundation does not have. But as far as looks go, they're both very attractive. At a glance, there's not a whole lot of visual difference to the beginning row. One thing you do want to keep in mind is that because with a starting chain, you chain first and then crochet all the way back across, your little starting tail here will be on the left when you're looking at your work from the front. Whereas with the chainless foundation, you just start at one end and work all the way across, which leaves your starting tail on the right side when you're looking at it from the front. So if you're working on a pattern where you're trying to keep track of wrong side and right side by keeping track of your starting end, this can be a handy little trick to help you remember where you are. What interested me next was how well each edge stretched. So I got out my tape measure to do a side-by-side comparison. So here we have my swatch with the chain edge. First I'm going to measure the starting edge. I'll pull that out as far as I can. I'm getting about 11 inches on this edge. Then we'll check the top edge, and I'm going to pull, and I'm getting about 15 inches on the top edge on this one. Now we're going to do the same thing with the chainless foundation. I'll take the beginning edge and pull that out as far as I can. It's definitely closer to 14 on the starting edge for the chainless foundation. And we'll flip that around and measure the top edge. Pull, 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 pull. About 15 inches on this one as well. So that's the difference in stretch there. And so to sum up, the chainless foundation took longer for me to make, but that can depend on a lot of different things, your skill level, the yarn you've used. So that may be different for different people. Both of the chains and the finished swatches have an attractive appearance, and they both end up to be about the same size when they're not stretched. However, when they are stretched, the chainless foundation does have a lot more give than the chain foundation. So when you're deciding between the two techniques, just weigh the factors that are most important for your project and use the technique that suits it best. Thanks so much, and I'll see you again next time.